Hi everyone, in this video we're visiting the Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance to talk about their stamp program and CultureSpots collaboration. This enabled teenagers to work closely with 15 different museums and produce mobile audio tours for each one of them, for teens by teens, and that are now being used by the more than 14,000 Stamp Pass holders in Philadelphia.
Teenagers are the ones who feel the most outside of museums and unwelcomed. Museums tend to do a lot of programming for younger children and then adults and young professionals, but teenagers are sort of the ones who are left out. So STAMP came along as a way to solve that problem and get teens more engaged in arts and culture and make them feel like they're accepted and can be a part of these institutions. They would be the next audience for the museum, so it only made sense that we sort of tapped into that audience and made sure they felt included. Well, it's been pretty great. We have over 14,000 teens signed up for the pass. That's 14 to 19-year-olds who live in Philadelphia. So it's pretty crazy to think about that, just that number of kids who've actually gone out of their way to sign up for a pass. My VP of External Relations, Michael Norris, has his go-to stamp story, which is that he was on SEPTA one day and he heard a kid saying, "I have my stamp pass," and the kid next to him was like, "What is that?" And he was like, "Dude, you don't know what a stamp pass is? You have to go sign up for it. It gets you into all these museums for free." So that kind of was proof that it's working, because we have this tried and true audience who's like, we don't have to pay for marketing at this point. We're just word of mouth is really helping.
The stamp program, I think before CultureSpots, there weren't a whole lot of opportunities for the teens to directly work with their museum partner. They would have meetings and get to know them, but it wasn't like they had a organized project to both come together on and work on together.
So we thought obviously CultureSpots would be a natural fit because we can get these teens to go in and hear audio from their peers. It's not the same stuffy audio that maybe they don't find engaging or interesting, but it would be from their peers and their peers' voice. And thanks to Cliff, who has been amazing and sort of helping us step by step.
CultureSpots kind of created this opportunity for people within the institutions and museums to get to know their teen council members really well.
I won't speak for Erin, but I will definitely say that I had no idea how to even begin this process. And it was quite intimidating in the beginning, just thinking about taking teenagers' museum content and trying to bridge the two. And you've been amazing in helping us sort of make that happen and fostering that relationship.
Getting those two forces to align, and then just understanding how are we going to record these? Do we have to be in a professional studio to record them? And becoming more familiar with what sounds good when you record it.
So it started out with just sitting down with the teens and sort of figuring out what exhibitions they found the most interesting, and then talking to their museum partner to create the scripts and make sure they were accurate and that it flowed together. I think of Lynn immediately, just because she was so fantastic at making sure Asif got the points clear. I know she was a little hard on him to make sure it made sense and it flowed, and that it was still in his voice.
We established some really great partnerships with WHYY and Drexel, and they were really key in helping us through this process and having people who are really experienced. But even when we didn't have a studio, we were able to just record in a quiet space on an iPhone. Say when teens were sick and couldn't make it to the official recording, we had to do some creative thinking around those recordings, but they all turned out really great. And the teens were able to edit the audio content themselves, which was really amazing.
There were some moments where I was like, "Oh, that doesn't sound like a teenager would say that." And Lynn would be like, "No, but he said that." So it was a moment for me to realize, don't underestimate what they actually know and their actual wording. That's actually how they speak. And then Lynn would sort of go in and tweak, and in the end it became this process that I think the teens really were proud of because they took ownership of it. It was theirs from the beginning, and they just sort of had assistance from myself, Erin, Cliff, their museum rep, but I'm so proud of it because it was theirs. I think sometimes the museums we first mentioned that we were doing this, I think they felt like, oh my gosh, it's just more work for me. And I think that scared them off. But having people like Elizabeth at PAFA and Lynn at the Barns sort of come in and say, no guys, it's not that difficult. Like, we have these great teenagers. We have Cliff, who's really supportive, and then Aaron and myself being there to sort of like help cushion the entire thing, I think was really helpful. I know ICA actually really loved working with Jordan for their spot, which was interesting because their exhibitions are constantly changing. So it was really cool to hear someone like Jill say, well, when is our next one coming? Like, when are we going to record next? So I think there is just this genuine pride in having started something with a teen and sort of working with them step by step to create something that's not only theirs, but that will last. I keep getting emails from the National Liberty Museum, so that's the next one, where they're just like, when is our CultureSpots happening? And I don't know how they know about it. I'm like, well, who told you? But they're really excited about creating theirs.
You know, we've kind of used CultureSpots as that spark. They can listen to CultureSpots even if they're not at the museum. You know, if they're intimidated by these places that haven't typically welcomed them, or they don't have, you know, a deep knowledge of, I think it's a really great entry point for them to the museums, to kind of get someone who's their own age talking to them about what they might see in these places. So that's really been a great addition to the program in terms of strengthening the engagement with our pass holders.
We have a teen council who's been really vocal in the fact that it's helped them out with communications, it's helped them sort of step out. We have one member who was really shy when she started, and she actually did a CultureSpots, and it's one of the better ones, I think. She really took her time with it and studied and really practiced her script over and over again until she thought it was perfect. And she says that Stamp has sort of got her out of her shell, and she just got a full ride to Princeton. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. So yeah, stories like that make me think, okay, I'm kind of doing my job.